Here we are, bottom of the Smash Mountain. I would like to thank my patrons over at patreon.com/bsmpod for continuing to support me and what I'm doing. I'm very pleased today to have the project director of the all-time Melee Top 100 players list. This is Edwin Budding, also a member of the Melee Stats in terms of the YouTube projects on Melee Stats YouTube, as well as managing a rather large Melee Stats Discord, MeleeStats.co, Monday Morning Marth, what happened last night in Melee. I could go on, but I'll let you talk for yourself as well. Edwin, you're joining me for the second time now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. I'm really excited tonight, and not just because of the Patriots-Bills game, but because there's so much going on in Melee. I don't even know where to start. Do we talk about the Top 100 project? Do we talk about Summit coming up? There's just so much in Smash news to get into. I can't wait to dive into all of it with you, Jesse. I had a blast last time I was here, and I think that it's fair to say that so much has changed since we last spoke. And if I may say so, I think a lot has changed to make the scene more exciting and even for the better in many ways.
You know, when we have actual IRL, either majors or big regionals or just big tournaments in general, and we have ones to look forward to as well. When Pipsqueak and Leffen are in the United States, right now in the United States, that just brings up the energy level. I think that it generates a lot of excitement, and this is the kind of stuff where maybe a month and a half ago, somebody's complaining about, oh, not much is happening right now. That is not the conversation presently. There's a lot of awesome Melee happening, and it's about to happen. I do not want to, however, get lost on the fact that you were the project director for the newest edition of the Melee, the all-time top 100 Melee players list. And I do not want it to be lost that it was an incredible collaborative project. A lot of people had plenty of discourse around it that was both helpful and not helpful. But for my part, I want to say thank you for making a lot of things happen on that project for you. When you get to say that you were the project director for this, where does that go in terms of your, if you want to say accomplishments or resume, like, is it up there for you, or is this kind of like pretty chill for you? How do you view it, Edwin?
I think it's up there. I think that my team was so fantastic on this project, the Melee Stats team. I am very grateful for the leadership at PG, for at least as far as Smash content is concerned, for vouching for my group and being able to really take this idea of a list on a website with a few blurbs that I had and elevate it to another level of content across a variety of mediums. You know, tasteful promotion across, like successful promotion across their mediums as well. I think when I had done the list in the past, it was basically like an opinion list, right? It first started off in 2016. We had the top 30 done by myself. Then 2 years later, me and Melissa Blight, also known as Pikachu942, worked on a list together that also received a lot of positive community feedback. But heading into this year, I thought that the list this year would carry a different level of significance. And I thought that because Melee's 20th anniversary was coming out. So I wanted to make sure that this time, that when the list would come out, that it wouldn't just be one person's opinions piece, and it wouldn't just be two people's opinion, even if they are educated opinion. I wanted this whole team that I've met in my years of being involved in Melee. I wanted my friends and basically like Smash coworkers at Melee Stats to help out on this project. I wanted them to not only help me determine what the top 100 Melee players of all time list would be, I wanted their creative input on it as well. I wanted them to tell the stories of each players in their blurbs. I wanted them to find holes in where me and Melissa may not have had them and provide their own historical perspective through their list and through their contributions to the project. And most of all, I wanted to make sure that whatever came out, regardless of whether you agreed with it or whether you didn't agree with it, had a clear rationale, had clear effort and thought put into the project. And I wanted to make sure that it would take the place in a very strange year with that.
Yes.
In a year lacking a lot of how do you say, constants that we were used to in years prior. I wanted to give the scene something with my team and with the PG team that would essentially fill the gap of late winter, of like early winter, end of the year talk about players in the scene. And I thought, in a year where there's not going to be a 2021 ranking, in a year where we're seeing the slow, not quite there yet, but the gradual return of LAN, I knew that the same audience was going to be there for a rankings discussion, and I thought 20th anniversary, this is the perfect time to contribute in this kind of way. So as far as my achievements and the achievements of my team, and even the collaborative achievements that PG has from this project as well, I would say that it is definitely up there for the projects that I've been involved in that I've cared about the most. I think this is on par with any video. This is on par with like most videos that me and my team have worked on for the channel. But of course, I'm biased because I essentially directed this project, and it was tough. It involved a lot of collaboration. It involved a lot of different opinions and talking about who we wanted on the list and where. It involved it involved trying to bring out the best of everyone in our group. And I think for the most part, it was a success. And I'm really proud of what we accomplished together. Both me, Melee Stats, and the PG team as well.
Since I have not really lived personally through a lot of this Melee history, the blurbs in particular were valuable to me because I was able to learn a lot of things that I had not previously learned before. Maybe not all of it being, oh wow, super high level, interesting. I can't say that I remember word for word every blurb that was written on each top 100 player, but one of the things that I wanted to go over a little bit before we get to the month of December and how crazy this month is for all kinds of Melee majors and events that are happening is to do a little bit of a fun top 5 blurbs that these are, my opinions and the opinions of the Bottom of Smash Mountain podcast only, to share with you. Someone who was obviously wrote a fair amount of them, so I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but these were the ones that stuck out to me the most and were my favorite. So
yeah,
we have top 5 and 2 honorable mentions. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I was just saying, shoot, tell me. I want to hear them.
Okay, so at an honorable mention, we have Wizrobe. This was written by you. I just loved hearing the part where, to me, I love the discourse around the idea of, is Falcon going to fade away as the meta continues to evolve, as Fox, Falco, Marth continue to really stand themselves out further and further. And even you could even say that argument for, you literally have it here as Pikachu as well. Like, what's going to happen to Pikachu? What's going to happen to Jigglypuff? What's going to happen to Sheik even? It just depends on who you talk to. But most people would say there's 3 characters, Marth, Fox, and Falco, who sort of have their own ways of invalidating Falcon. But Wizrobe has continued to play really well against players of all those characters. And obviously coming in at number 14 all time, such a big accomplishment for Wizrobe, who in many ways feels like he has a lot to go for his career in Melee. So that's an honorable mention for me. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I want to say that I think this is a very forgotten part of his legacies and contributions to the game. Most people in the scene now who play the game or even watch, we take the amount of Falcons we have for granted. Look, there's Wizrobe, there's S2J, there's none, and even Gatsu is making waves. Beneath that, you have people
King
like
of the Cube.
Zero and yeah, King Gatsu, the king of the cube, absolutely. Yeah, so it's easy to if you're a newcomer to the scene, or even if you've been around for about a year and a half, it's easy to, or it would feel easy to take the number of Falcons at the top level for granted. But to be honest, it wasn't always like that. When Hax left the character, yeah, there was SJ who was still there, and Gatsu was good, but not quite on the level where he is right now. But many people thought that, maybe Falcon can't do it. Falcon can't win a major. Hax said it. Hax put so much time into this character. He was really good with Falcon. If he can't do it, I don't know who can. And Wizrobe, in my opinion, I really think he's the complete or close to the complete or definitive modern Captain Falcon player. I think like the association with Wizrobe used to be that he has really fast reactions and he tech chases really well. But he's become a much more complete player through the years.
Oh yeah.
He's become really technical. His defense has become outstanding. He's added new elements to his game. I think the amount of work that he puts into like grinding his character, understanding what he can do at different ranges and positions and whatnot, the amount of like how the amount that Wizrobe is important to Captain Falcon, especially considering where the character was at in the metagame from before, is something that I don't think we should go. I don't think it should go overlooked. You know that like this is early 2015, late 2014. People were cracking jokes about if Falcon was worse than Pikachu. Like it was really bad. And granted, there's a group of Captain Falcons that have kept him alive. But there's a reason that Wizrobe is the one that won a land major. You know, like Wizrobe is the definitive modern Captain Falcon player, and in my opinion, the greatest Captain Falcon player ever.
I mean, doesn't that it stands that that is the case, right? I mean, unless you want to say that Azin or somebody else above is a true Captain Falcon main, that's not true.
I don't know if they're secondaries. I don't know if Azin and Ken secondary Captain Falcons. Are bigger accomplished than Wizard winning Smash and Splash and doing so much more.
It's wild to consider that. I mean, this was a talked about item in your podcast when it was you, Wheat, and also Toph and Blur talking about main stage. Like, what does that do? Because it's two majors now, right? You would count main stage as a major, Edwin?
I'd have to think about it. I don't know. I don't know if it would technically fit the criteria we used for the list. But I'd have to talk to Liz. She determined the criteria for what counts as major. I think this would be like borderline.
And it's also hard because it goes off of top ranked players or ranked players, a certain amount of them attending the event, and there's not really been that kind of ranking since 2019.
Like I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. What does a win on offline Hungrybox mean in 2021? Is it pretty good? Yeah, it seems great. But is it a top 5 win? Is it a top 6 or 7? Is it a win on like basically the second tier of players? I don't know. I guess.
See,
right? But
you are going to have so much fun when you make an all-time top 100 for the 25th anniversary of Melee, because you're going to have to go back and look at the COVID era, the quarantine era.
Yeah, let me ask you something, actually. I think that, so in my mind, I don't know if Wizrobe winning main stage significantly increases his all-time legacy in my head. But I do think that, like, given how good he is at his peak, given how rapidly he improved, and his status as basically someone who can win a major now. Maybe he's not like on the level of Mango Zane, jury's out on Leffen, but basically he's on a good day, he can beat people in that tier, and maybe win. I do kind of wonder in the next year or so, between his ascent and his maintenance, or his sustenance at that, or whatever the word is, at that level of play. I wonder how that compares with someone with a bit more longevity and comparable meta impact, but someone who's kind of fallen off a little bit relative to all-time expectations like Axe. I do kind of wonder, like, what would it take for Wizrobe to pass him and even get into like the Chudat tier or even borderline top 10? That's something I'm kind of curious about.
At least one more major win that would probably get Wizrobe into the same conversation as Axe and Chudat, like where you would have two solid. So if you don't want to call main stage a major win, if there was another one, say Double Down coming up in March, or the big house, you want to go crazy and say something like that, or even this upcoming summit, since Pleb's not going to be there, we'll talk about that when we get to summit. You basically you can in my mind you can start talking about Wizrobe being at the level of Axe, because one thing that you'll always say about him is how he innovates the character and he keeps the character relevant against the competition. And if Wizrobe is the forefront for Falcons against the rest of the competition, it's not that
Axe has been doing that for longer. Yeah.
Yes, and with a worse character in most people's minds. I remember. Did you see Tyler Swift versus Aklo in one of the more recent nightclubs where there's a ridiculous, crazy extension that Tyler Swift got, and it lasted like at least 10 seconds?
That one is that was one of the most wild Pikachu combos I've ever seen in my life, and I've
And
watched
yet
a lot of
somehow
that.
it did like 30%. There was a combo like that in the set where you just
I
had
know the one you're
so
talking
great
about.
extensions, really read Aklo like crazy, like 4 or 5 times in a row, and it's like 30% at the end of the combo. You're going, this character, that's not
It's like
fair.
up air, up air, up air.
You feel bad.
Up air, up air, up air, and then like a single hit of down smash, but he keeps chasing him down. He's working so hard.
And that's why I said, I mean,
Well, yeah,
Tyler Swift for some is going to be cool. But yes, I really love what Axe has done with Pikachu and has been doing it for longer. To your point, I feel like it hurts that there's a little bit of a drop off for Axe, but I really want him to have opportunities to prove himself at places like Smash World Tour. It won't happen at Summit because he's not going to that event, but I I
yeah,
feel like that I can't help but be biased by the information in the more recent era where Axe struggled with online for the most part, didn't have the top 5 argument that he did in 2019. He didn't have that in 2020 or in 2021. So I would love for him to be able to use more IRL events to start placing in top 4, start challenging for a win here or there. But to this day, it's still just Summit 8. Is that the one that he won?
yeah, it was someone eight.
Right. So it's tough because I feel like in my mind, it's higher likelihood that Wizra wins a major before Axe wins a major.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about the other honorable mention then? I think
It's
that's a
going to
good
take us so long to get through
place.
those if we keep that. Okay, so the other honorable mention, Drugged Fox, also written by you. I went back to that set, the Leffen
Ah,
set, where
thank
he
you, thank
beats
you.
him and then shakes his head vigorously. I was not expecting the level of head shaking that I was going to see. I thought it was
Yeah, it's
just going to
very
be
funny.
I mean, he literally, it almost felt like a Hungry Box pop off where people say, that's not, he's just acting. Like, Hungry Box is on stream and knows that this is going to get him a lot of gift subs. So, of course, he's going to scream at the mic. That head shake felt like he was doing it because he knew he was on stream because the camera's just like,
Yeah, I think it's a very I think a word I said was quintessential drug fox moment. I remember
yes, yes.
it's funny. I remember that set pretty strongly because it happened at Royal Flush, which is the first Melee Stats major. It was the first
Oh,
major where I went, or excuse me, where I met Wheat. So
oh, that's
it
awesome.
always has a yeah, it has a special memory in my
Poor
heart because
Wheat.
of
You
that.
had to watch Armada
Yeah.
lose to Mango. You're the happiest person in the venue except for Mango,
I
probably.
was thrilled. Yeah, I remember watching Drug Fox beat Leffen. Like it was really ugly too. And Wheat and I were sitting down, just kind of befuddled. We could not understand that what was going. We just couldn't believe that Leffen was getting clowned in a Fox Ditto so bad. I think he got out at like 5th place or something too. So it was a really bad tournament for Leffen, like for his standards, right?
Oh yeah, and Leffen's normally like making you think first or third at the very least.
hmm
So then at 5, this is where things start to get real. We have the
Now we're gonna go
Cactuar.
into blurbs that aren't written by me, which is the important. All the rest of my team are better writers. This is what you're trying to tell me. I understand. It's fine.
You are in the top 5, Edwin. Calm down. We have Cactuar. I think that Chroma worked really hard for the Cactuar blurb. This is such a good blurb. It's a great starting spot. I mean, I want to put this higher, but bias for other blurbs has me putting it at 5, but it is a very, very well written blurb. You should just go and read it yourself. Go to the PG Stats website and just look at number 45 on the all-time list. That's where you'll get a real treat.
Yeah, I want to say I laughed out loud in the voice call because I was talking about the list with Melissa, and when we got to that part of the list, we both actually started laughing and cracking up, and she asked me, "Are you gonna keep the blurb?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Like let me sit on it for a little bit." Then I think about 2 weeks before publish time or so, I just said, yeah, let's run it. Whatever. If we have one blurb like this, we're good to go. If we have one blurb like this, that's enough. That's fine. It's funny. It conveys a point about Cactuar being at every stage in Melee history. I thought it was timely. I thought the pop culture reference is great. So I don't regret running it. In fact, I don't think I changed a single thing about it. I think the blurb as it's written in these in the Excel spreadsheet, maybe I have to double check on this. I don't think we changed anything about it. I think we actually just kept the original.
That's awesome. Except here's
Shout out to Chroma.
here's what I'm thinking about. What if this kind of blurb is written about a top 10 player? You're not keeping it. No shot, right?
No shot. No. If it was written about Mewtwo King, no. It's Mewtwo King will get even more mad at us than he already is.
I would spend the entire blurb on Mewtwo King writing about whether or not he was actually asleep when he was doing that thing with the controller in that video. I would just like go over the lore of that, and Mewtwo King would be like, not only did I get ranked at number 5, which is ridiculous, I also have to read this stupid blurb written by this stupid idiot who knows nothing about my career. Sorry, Mewtwo King.
He doesn't even know about the controller I had at MLG Dallas that I used to beat up Ken in friendlies before I lost my controller and didn't do well in the tournament. Ken also only won that tournament, by the way, because I taught him how to use counter against PC Chris. But Ken actually doesn't give me any credit for that, even though he should, because he wouldn't have beaten PC Chris without me. If I had that controller, this is what Mewtwo King used to send me in Facebook messages, and for the older list. I'm serious. If you get him talking on stream, if he's ranting about something, he's going to bring up MLG Dallas 2006 somehow. A tournament that Ken won in order to boost himself. Imagine bringing up a tournament that your rival at the time won to promote yourself. This is the most ridiculous thing.
Whatever you got to do. Let me find number 4. No, that's number 2. That's an honorable mention. I really should have used bigger numbering here. Though I keep thinking here's 4. PC Chris, written by Melissa Blight. And of course, this comes naturally because PC Chris is one of my own all-time favorite players. But I loved how she wrote about the arc of his career that really cements him in such a high ranking for the all-time top 100. I thought it was very well written. So shout outs to you, Melissa. I loved all of that here. Like, I get to read it again, but in the context of PC Chris being put at a very high spot on the all-time top 100 list, or the newest edition, one that'll hopefully stand for a year or two. We'll see how crazy y'all want to get, but that will always be, watching PC Chris sets of any kind will always be a little bit of a magical thing for me, because that was the first competitive set that I ever watched. PC Chris versus Ken, MLG New York 2006.
A lot of the PC Ken sets actually hold up pretty well. It's not like super modern player or anything, but you can tell they're solid. They pay attention to what each other are doing. Like they're solid for the era, and it's fun. The story, their whole like trilogy, is one of the best storylines of 2006. If I can just give myself a little credit here for one of my writers, the last line, I think, something like PC. It's something like PC Chris is known for many things, but the snapshot of him holding a fat $10,000 check is what we'll most like remember about him. If I can just say so, that was my suggestion to her, because we were looking for a way to land the blurb, like with a really pungent excuse me, not pungent, what a weird word, with a really strong ending. And I just think the image of peace, like you can literally see it in your mind, right? Him holding that MLG check. Like,
well, then there's also the picture as well in the card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think I like that blurb a lot. I think Melissa did a great job on it, and we found a really good way to resolve the blurb pretty well.
There's probably, it's like you almost have to mention it just by default, because it's what everybody remembers from PC Chris's episode on well, actually no, it was in Korean DJ's episode when they were talking about the Las Vegas MLG.
That's right, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
KDJ is really heartbroken about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the lines I will never forget. That he won, and I have to wait another year to win. Oh no! And then there's like that text that comes on the screen is like, that was the last time they ever had him. It's, really sad. Okay.
Yeah, the pro circuit, at least.
Yes, for MLG, the pro circuit. So at number 3, we have the Hungry Box entrant, also another blurb written by Melissa Blight, and this was of course, because one of the reasons why I got into Melee in the more recent modern era where I started paying more attention was because of Hungrybox. I saw the discourse somehow on the internet about Hungrybox killing Melee, and I, very casually following Smash, was like, that doesn't, hold on, really? That doesn't sound right. How can one player kill the game? So I started watching more stuff live as much as I could have time for anyway, and started to just feel like, no, this is really cool. Hungrybox is not cool because he can do all these super flashy combos. He's cool because he just tends to win tournaments when he ought not to be, when it seems like, no, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. The other person is clearly a more skilled player, but it's Hungrybox who's winning. And so when I get to read a blurb that is, first of all, very well written, yet again, and also when it sort of in such a short amount of time encapsulates an entire career from an all-time player, it is hard to do that. And so much respect to Melissa for being able to pull that off.
Yeah, I don't think there was much. I don't think there was much to change about that one. She came in pretty prepared with all the things she wanted to say about him. Yeah, that was a pretty good blurb. I love the ending. Will he ever choose to lose again? It's a great deep cut to the web street, and I guess also in a way that the Melee stats, the Team Catfish versus Team Liquid video. Yeah, it was fun. That was one of her best ones, I would say.
And then at number 2, we have Homemade Waffles, who I think learning something about Homemade Waffles making the top 100 for 5 straight years, and that is not something that everybody can say, even for top 100 players, is really, really cool. So I got to learn that. And sorry, I forgot to say the Homemade Waffles blurb written by you, Edwin Budding, excuse me. And I loved that. I'd also love Homemade Waffles, what he does for the scene in general. So of course I have like the feels there. And I think that if there was ever enough will on Homemade Waffles' parts to say, screw it, I'm just going to focus on playing, like that would be somebody playing well and succeeding who I would be probably the most excited for. It's just that since he does so many other things, and I don't know if obligation is the right word, but very selflessly trying to do what he believes is the best thing that he can do and how he can contribute to the Melee community is a wonderful thing. So seeing a tribute made to Homemade Waffles in any capacity is always going to get a 2 thumbs up by me.
Yeah, and I think with him it's especially interesting because there were moments in his career where he really, like, maybe not an entire year of the modern era, but there were stretches where he looked just outside the top 50. I know when he was really doing well, one of his goals was that he wanted to make Summit as a competitor. Obviously, when your other contributions to the community are at such a high level, when you're so involved, it's tough to balance everything, right? But yeah, there was a time when Homemade Waffles was, if you saw him in bracket, like he wasn't a free win. In fact, I'm gonna tell you a funny story right now. Okay, so in late 2015, a much younger version of Melissa Blight, when Homemade Waffles beat Plup at HTC Throwdown, she had this huge post on GameFAQs that eventually turned into a copy pasta because people just made fun of her for it. Where she wrote about all these upsets in Melee history, and she said none of them, or all of them, pale in comparison to when Homemade Waffles defeated Plup. I truly believe this will be remembered as one of the greatest upsets in Melee history, and no one remembered it. More people remember, thanks to Ambi, more people remember Prince Abu beating Plup than they remember Homemade Waffles beating Plup. Like, think about it. If it was anyone else, we'd all be talking about it, right? If
Yeah.
anyone else had beaten all those players, had beaten Lucky, Plup, Ryan Four, even winning, I know it's an exhibition, but even taunting Hungrybox in real life to his face and whooping him in an exhibition. If it was anyone else, we'd be talking about it. But because it's Homemade Waffles, he's that really cool commentator. He's that really cool TO. Well, let me tell you something. That guy is a monstrous Melee player. He's really good. And I'm sure if he ever put all his focus into competing again, I think Homemade Waffles would definitely be a top 100 player. And if he ever really, really, really just decided, screw it, all I'm trying to do is play melee. He's really good, dude. People don't know.
People don't know. I love that. I would love to see it because it would be something that I would get to experience for the first time, seeing him play in a bracket and getting to like a top 32, top 16, or even top 8 spot. So at number 1, it's actually you, Edwin Budding, with your Pew Pew You entrant. See, here's the thing.
Really? You like the PPU? The PPU one was good. I thought you were gonna pick the mango one because it's a little. How come you like the PPU one?
The manga one's a little basic, Edwin.
Okay. Now I know this is real. You told me what you actually thought of some of the other. Now I know you're not just gassing me up by putting some of my blurbs on the list. I will say I'm glad I had multiple in your top 5 because I did write like half the blurbs, so it would have been a really bad look if I only had one, but everyone else had a bunch. Then I would have just looked like a jabroni. But yeah, tell me what you like about the PPU one.
Okay, so first of all, Pew Pew You is one of the first people that I got to talk to who's like a quote unquote top player, right? And that was a fun conversation, one that I'll remember for a very long time. Kevin's very nice. And then I would say that when you start to talk about a set between SWT and PPU at the Wombo Combo, the 10th anniversary Wombo Combo tournament, and like after the grand finals is over, PPU comes out on top and they hug each other when he and SWT hug each other. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Like it hit me, I think, in the right emotional way in that moment. And I couldn't forget about it because combining with the fact that like I said, PPU's a great guy. And then like, it's a little sentimental, like best friends kind of thing. Very, very sweet to me. And so I couldn't shake it. I kept thinking, yeah, I might, maybe something that's like something that makes more sense, but that's why it's subjective. That's why it's my own top 5 blurb. Okay. So that to me is number 1.
Can I tell you something really funny about not the blurb itself, but just about that whole dynamic between PPU and SFAT? It's so amusing to me that I modeled the blurb after their doubles accomplishments and then ended it with not just PPU winning with a big NorCal event over SFAT, but like hugging him or whatever. It's funny that I chose that as the like emotional focus of the blurb because when those two were winning like so many doubles tournaments and when they were really good together, I hated it. I thought the friendship storyline was the most annoying, grating thing in the whole world. Oh my God, SFAT and Pew Pew, they're both on CLG. Oh, did you know they were best friends?
The Summit
Oh, well,
bath
did you
time
know
skit.
that? Yeah. I mean, like it was so insufferable, dude. I hated hearing about this fat people. I wanted them to lose so much. I'm sorry, PPU, if you're ever listening to this, but
Wow.
it was so annoying. They would just win teams and they'd be like, "Oh, we're SFAT, we're PPU, we win. We're so good at doubles." Oh, it was awful. It was awful too because let me tell you something. Because like Plup and Mooch King weren't at a ton of those events, so then like when they ended up playing, I think Plup and Mooch King ended up breaking the streak, the CLG streak, and beating them. But it was like their first tournament back in like a year, so that whole win streak always felt like really inflated by the fact that Plup and Mooch King weren't there that whole time. Or this is what I remember. Maybe my memory is off. It's so funny that I really like hated that whole storyline and how insufferable it was. But now years later, we're past it. Like those two, we haven't had like a really huge doubles tournament in a while. Years have passed. And writing this PPU blurb, I thought, oh, how nice, how nice. It's funny how time completely changes your perspective on these things, or at least their absence. I guess maybe if they kept winning tournaments and competing with each other, and there was no pandemic or anything, I would want to talk about something else. But it's just funny.
And that is interesting to me. Like Kevin definitely admitted that part of the whole retiring thing at the time that he did, of course, there were a lot of reasons to do it, but one of the things was, I mean, COVID, you stop traveling and you get a chance to breathe and think about everything for a second and going, I think I'm ready to move on to the next stage of my life. And of course, still plays Melee. I saw a clip, I think a week or two ago, some nice, I think it was Falcon and Fox action.
Yeah, I know the clip you're talking about. That clip was disgusting.
Reverse
that was
knee.
One of the sickest
Yeah.
Falcon combos I've ever seen. I think yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that with Pew Pew because I I took the opposite route. During COVID, I thought a lot about what I wanted to do with my life, and I thought a lot about my current obligations. And I realized that Melee was just so important to me, and that I wanted to, with the little time that I have on Earth, I don't want to have any regrets. I want to make sure that everything I want to do in Melee I've accomplished, and I want to make sure that I inspire other people to do the same thing, to like do whatever they can.
That's awesome, Edwin. That's really, really cool. Anybody who's listening who's saying, oh, that's not cool, dedicate more time to Melee, you're listening to the wrong podcast. We're not questioning life
Yeah,
choices.
yeah, how are you in this deep into the podcast and you're like, this is it. That's my line. I've been listening to every episode, Cypher. But this is the line I draw.
I like this whole dynamic. If anybody ever says to me, yeah, Melee, probably not the most rewarding thing, but I love it and I love putting time into it, I'm instantly like, you are a very interesting person. Let's go. And that is the top 5 blurbs for the top 100. And we've almost been at this for an hour. Dadgummit. Patriots are going to start playing the Bills soon. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, go ahead, Edwin.
I want to mention 2 things with the blurbs, just because I feel like it would be remiss. I would be remiss or whatever if I didn't mention it. I want to highlight just really quickly. I thought that Ambi's blurb on Professor Pro is fantastic. We worked on that together for a while, but I love the way he set it up, the story of building this incredible hidden boss, like talent locked away all the way in Britain, and then saying like, oh, I wish he came to the US. He would have incredible results. Like can you imagine him beating these players? Oh wait, he already did that. It's a very slept on thing, right? I think Ambi really nailed the story of Prof there. I think he also, another blurb of his I really like, 2 blurbs of his in particular. I loved his Silent Wolf one, the way he set up Silent Wolf, not just in beating Bladewise a lot, but
yeah, poor Bladewise.
Beating Drug Fox so badly that Drug Fox quit Cheek. Him farming Mewtwo Marth in his prime. Very just an incredible player and an incredible insight of Ambi to highlight those facts with Silent Wolf. Wheat, I wanted to especially note his blurbs. His blurbs were the last one submitted. I will say that much, but they were all really good. I loved his focus on S2J just really having this timeless, unique play style and contributions to the Melee scene. I loved the way he set up Meds' blurb and ending it with it neatly resolves, right? Talking about how he's not just the best Fox in Arizona, but he has all these accomplishments. And today he became the best player in the state, period, which I think is such a great way to close that blurb. I mean, like I could talk about everyone's contributions. I thought Glenn KB, I thought his blurb on Eddie Mexico was fantastic. I loved YCC's blurbs on everyone, but I especially loved his on Spark, which I thought was great. You kind of see everyone's personality shine through the blurbs. I really like Zane's on Zoo as well. I think Zane as an Ipengu.
Yes.
I really loved all our contributions to the project. I think one of the most fun things about the blurbs is that they never feel stale. They're clearly like Melee stats, or basically in the case of Ipengu, like honorary Melee stats, but they all have a different voice and focus, which I think makes them a pleasure to read. And I'm glad that the feedback I've received from the blurbs has been overwhelmingly positive. So that's nice. I went into the project, the expectation for MPGR and SSBM rank every year is that when there's blurbs, volunteers from the community do it. But for this one, I really wanted to keep it in-house because I knew the talent I was working with, and I wanted to make sure that was represented, and I wanted to make sure that came across in the project. And I'm really glad it did.
That's awesome. You're saying that just anybody can do blurbs for future top 100 rankings, like for 2022?
Well, that's how they used to do it in the past. I don't know if they're going to do that next year, but I wouldn't be surprised. I will say though, for this one, I really wanted it to be in-house for the
very fair. I mean, you're the project director. I'll keep saying that until we're done talking for the rest of the night. Okay, I want to talk about Summit. I do, I promise. But HBox only loses when he chooses to. That was a very wild turn of events. We are talking the night after Hungrybox goes down 2-0 in grand finals. Looks like on Dreamland it's going to be a bit of a wash. down 3 stocks to 1, if I recall correctly, and then turns it around, finishes the rest of the way 5-0. Obviously does the reverse 3-0 in the first set of grand finals, resets, and then wins 3-0 in the second set, and has a rather nice H-box pop-off clip. Definitely one of my own favorites. And now I'm just afraid, because even though I love Hungrybox as a competitor, I love seeing a character like Jigglypuff play well against the rest of the field, because that is such a unique character compared to, even the regular floaties like Sheik and Marth, if you want to call them that. Puff is by far the floatiest, dies so early, and yet still can somehow hang with Fox, Falco, Marth, and so on. So now I'm just really nervous, Edwin. I'm very, very nervous about Summit, because we have all these other fun storylines, but you know what can come through like a literal wrecking ball, except it's in the shape of a puff, is Hungrybox. And a confident Hungrybox at that, if he actually harnesses that. The other side of the coin, since this is 2021, is a Hungrybox that's like super excited and doesn't pay attention to Melee all week, shows up on Friday and is like, what's going on? Are we doing doubles, like a fake doubles thing? Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. I'll play a little bit. And then on Saturday for pools is like, what happened? I just won the Gallant Melee Open Fall. Did nobody notice that? What happened? And it goes like 0-4 on pools or whatever.
Yeah, I think I will say, I think offline Hungrybox, it's first off, it's really impressive that he came back from such a big deficit. He was down 2-0 and he was down like 1 stock to 3 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
It was looking really bad for Hungrybox, and he just won the next 6 games. I know people are going to say like, oh, well, like, come on, when he hit the rest to tie the game in game 3, set 1 of Grands, you knew he was going to win. It's like, okay, well, like, even if you knew he was going to win it was like a tournament deciding point for Aklo, and no one could have predicted him winning just like 6 straight games in a row, right? Like, that's not an easy thing to do against someone like Aklo. Now, with that out of the way, while this is an impressive accomplishment for Hungrybox, this is going to be a really tough field, even for offline Hungrybox. I don't know if Hungrybox came through and won the event, could I say that I'd be super duper, that it has no precedent? No, I guess I couldn't. But I will say I would be surprised. I think this field is really tough for him, because he's going to most likely need to beat like 2 of 4 or 5 people that are heavy favorites against him, or players that he needs like every break to go his way to beat. So like, let's take a look at this matchup spread. I did a huge breakdown of each of the Summit invitees.
Monday Morning Marth.
MeleeStats.co. Yeah, which you can read at MeleeStats.co. And I just don't see it. Maybe I'm going to regret this, but you invite me back on next week to where I can eat my words at motivating the clutch god.
Silly Edwin, I won't invite you back to eat your own words. You'll just have to hold that for a while.
or I'll have to hold it for a while. No, that's fine. I just think it's really tough. Like, do I think he has a shot against Zane? No, I think he needs to avoid Zane. Do I think he has a shot against Mango? I guess, but like, again, this is against Mango. This is one person that he would rather not play, but if he plays him, he needs every break to go his way. Like coin flip style situations, right? Like he gets more rest than usual, maybe Mango SDs, or he gets like a few big reads on Mango or something, right? So we already have 1 auto loss basically, and we have another person that he needs every break to go his way. Who do we have after that? Let's say we have Leffen. I think Leffen, this is another person it's not impossible for him to beat him, but it's functionally really difficult for him to. It's basically like, if you have one person who you'd want to dodge, that's bad enough. But you have 2 people in a bracket that you already need a break from, right? Or you need every break to go your way to beat them. Like, it's very unlikely that you beat them. Now he has IBW and Wizrobe. We're talking 4 people that he's an underdog against. 4 people, and then one other person who it's basically like no chance of him beating him, right? We're already at 5 people. But want to know who else he has to worry about? He has to worry about Amsa at the same event. Now, even if you want to say Hungrybox is favored against Amsa, if you're talking about the stakes of potentially winning a major, if the 7th seed or whatever is like a 40% chance of beating you, and you already have all these other matchups that you either would want to avoid or that you need everything to go your way to win, I gotta say, if there's a time to sleep on the clutch god, I think it's now. Don't be fooled by Gallant. I think this is. Yeah, I'm gonna regret this so bad, aren't I?
You're writing a really
He's
good
gonna like
script right
destroy.
now.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
unfortunate.
I genuinely think this is probably the lowest chance Hungrybox has ever had before an event of winning it. At least in the last like 3 to 4 years, I can't think of another time where Hungrybox has entered an event and I've been like, I don't think he's winning it, or like it, or he needs a miracle to win this. I honestly think like AMSA has a better chance of winning this tournament than Hungrybox. It's really tough, and I still think.
Oh, what a terrible time to cut out. Edwin was finally being unleashed. He's been waiting a whole hour to be unleashed. And as soon as he gets unleashed, the call gets disconnected. How about that? I was just telling the people who are listening and watching how you got cut off at exactly the wrong time in this entire hour. In this entire hour, you got cut off at exactly the wrong time. I told you
Yeah,
the ninjas are watching. In this case, the Hungry Box Stonks
the
supporters.
HFAM.
Yes,
HFAM is coming after me.
they're going clutch box, clutch box, clutch box. Just
Oh
like
my
ripping
God.
out your Ethernet cord as we speak.
Well, I look, but you see what I'm saying, right? Like, doesn't it feel really unlikely now? It feels so unlikely. Before the first summit, you could maybe say, okay, like online Hungrybox is totally different. When offline Hungrybox comes back, he's not just gonna beat the people that he lost to on online. He's gonna start beating the people that beat him a lot online, or like the people that we think will be hard, right? We've seen enough of online or offline Hungrybox to know that he's pretty good, but is he major winning good? I don't think so. I think it's really tough. He's got to show us something new.
So here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay, sorry. I want to say that I thought it was actually more surprising. The most surprising thing to me about Summit, other than Summit 11, other than seeing Mango miraculously win 2 games against Zayn on FD in a row to reset the first set of grand finals, that was miraculous and awesome and hype to watch. But Hungrybox making third at that event was the second most surprising thing to me about Summit 11, because I had no reason to think that he was even going to get. I mean, like, I thought there's a chance here where Hungrybox doesn't place top 8 just because of all the online results we have recently where he's struggling against what you would call the tier 2 players. Now, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I just remember seeing these different events and going, there's not really a whole lot to suggest here that when everybody's in the same room safely and whatnot, and there are actual great tier 1 players like Mango and Zayn and IBDW, probably the 3 biggest thorns in Hungrybox's side in the more recent times, especially in the last 2 years, that it would be possible for him to be able to place as well as he did. He ended up losing to Zayn and Mango in the bracket, who then finished top 2. I was very impressed by that. And then, of course, since then, there's been the main stage performance, and then at Riptide he finished in a decent placing. What did he finish at Riptide? I actually
He finished third.
Finished third. Excuse me. Yes, right. It was IBDW Plup in grand finals. That's right. Now I remember. Thank you. I think that there's a little bit of precedent, if you will, for him to be able to get close enough. And then, like you said, he's still going to have things break his way. But that world to me seems more likely than, strangely enough, Summit 11 did. You were kind of comparing Summit 11 and Summit 12 just a little bit there, giving me the impression that you would think that a higher placing is more implausible now than it was before, where I would actually say it's reversed.
Interesting. Well, what's his path there? Let's say if we're using getting to winners finals or getting third place as the parameters behind him repeating this. Let's take a look at what he did last time. Last time he beat AMSA in a really really nail tight set, right? I think that's what happened in bracket. Yeah, I think that's what happened in bracket.
It was
After
really
he does
close.
that, he wins 3-1 against IBW, a genuinely very surprising outcome given how we know that they trend online. After that, he loses to Zayn and Manga, okay? So we know that it's possible that he can beat IBW. But if you look at the game tape, right? Because checking the box score is one thing, but like even remembering the game tape, this
First
involved
to
a game.
five.
This involved this involved an SD from IBDW. Involved a few involved a few crucial things not going his way. And when we've seen them play again on offline, IBDW still looks like the favorite. He beat him. He beat him in their run back. He still looks like the. He still looks like the. It seems like that was the. If they play 10 sets and Hungrybox wins one or two, seems like that was already one of them. So it's like, do I see that happening again? No, but like but think about how unlikely that is, right? Who is Hungrybox going to be playing in winners bracket this time? Assuming he makes it out of bracket and pools, he's going to probably have to play the 3 seed or so, right? Which would be what, IBDW, Leffen. Good luck with that. So that's just to get to winner semis. When he gets to winner semis, he's going to probably have to play Mango. He's going to probably have to play Mango or Zane in winner semis. That's just to get to winners finals.
But
he's not playing Mango or Zane in winners finals this time. He's going to probably play them in semis.
Because Mango dropped down to losers so early that Mango wasn't there potentially after IBDW in the Summit 11 bracket. I mean, I don't remember it exactly of like how it was going to all shake out, but Mango went down before winner semis down to losers.
Yeah, because Flup beat him in quarters.
Yeah. And so like it's not. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying it. Like part of Hungrybox's run is that, that's I actually completely forgot about that. That's a great point. So that was already something else. That was a variable last time. That's not going to be there, right? Like Mango had to play one of the few people that actually kind of gives them, maybe not overly favored, but like someone kind of scary for Mango that he wouldn't want to play early, right?
Right.
So he has to go from that to chances are that it ended up basically Mango having to play a very hard opponent before semis, right?
Right.
I don't think that'll happen this time because that member of a very small group of people that can beat Mango is not attending this tournament. Which means that, by the way, this helps Wizrobe, I have to add, who is another person that Hungrybox could beat, but again, he needs every break to go his way to beat him.
Right, because there's a possibility, but Wizrobe's had them head-to-head for this year at least.
Yeah, he's beaten him, but I would still give Wizrobe 80% or higher odds, honestly.
And so the Hungrybox question aside, there's also different players like you were alluding to. There's Mango, there's Zane, there's IBDW, there's Leffen, and there's Wizrobe. Those are the people who come to mind first at the very least in terms of there's a lot of potential here for and good reasons for each of these players to win. In your Monday Morning Marth, if you don't mind me spoiling who you picked to win the tournament,
go ahead. Yeah,
is Zane. And I almost wonder if you decided to pull Ludwig and toss a coin. It felt like there's a little bit of indecision there because I was getting some real Mango vibes towards the end of that article.
No, I had made up my mind that I was not going to pick Mango. I have seen Mango win too many big majors. I've seen him win too many incredible all-time great sets and then immediately rest on his laurels and get 9th place or lose to someone he thinks that he should beat and get really not salty but just be upset after an event and be like, God, why did I lose that? I've had my heart broken too many times as a Mango fan. If there's a time for him to rest on his laurels, I would say it's not only immediately after winning the previous summit, it's also after being anointed the community GOAT, and I would say it's immediately after literally not attending anything else as a competitor.
Also his 30th birthday this weekend.
Yeah, these are red flags. This is danger zone. So Mango's getting 4th at this tournament.
That's one less player.
What if he loses to Hungrybox?
That's one less player for Hungrybox to play in winner's side of the bracket if Hungrybox makes it out of pools in the winner's side.
Yeah, but he has to worry about there's 5 other people.
No, I'm just saying he went from 5 to 4. That's just
okay,
just keeping track.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I'm holding you to a high standard here. I'm putting you on the hot seat just a little bit, but I am having fun. You're having fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that the moment I saw Plup not entering the tournament, I thought, oh, this will really help Mango. And then I was able to kind of fully put it into picture, oh God, he already won the last summit. It was an all-time great. It's just all the signs are there when you think Mango will do well, that he's just gonna get fourth or something. It's just
Yeah,
very it's like exactly the kind of event that you could see him losing in a really frustrating way. That's the
so I think the classic example that most people think about, I mean, a part of it is because it was documented very well in the metagame documentary, is EVO 2014 to the Big House 4, where
Mhm.
I don't know if there was a tournament in between because it didn't talk about that, but I remember Toph setting it up pretty well. He was on the floor at the Big House 4, maybe it was Friday or Saturday pools or whatever, and Toph's just talking about how in times past, Mango would win a really big tournament, and then for the next big tournament, not do so great. And he's like, but you can't sleep on the kid.
Yeah, fair enough.
That there,
I'm not gonna lie though. I mean I did have him second on the on my list of like predictions for the event, so I can't really say I'm sleeping on the kid, but I'm fairly certain that Zayn will win this event.
first or bust is what I'm thinking for Mango. I think it is more along the lines of, start in winners for the bracket, but then it's like the what if scenario, a melee what if, where what if Mango really did go home after going down into losers at Summit 11? What if he just went home and like DQ'd out of losers, and then we never get to see the Summit 11 losers run? What
What
if
a
this
reality
time
that would
there's like
be.
a loss to either Amsa or Leffen, and Mango's like not feeling it, and then just kind of like walks through the paces of like, I didn't come here to celebrate my 30th birthday by losing the Leffen after trash talking him for 2 years straight. He actually beats me. What an idiot. And getting really upset, whatever. And then just
Well,
petering out at seventh.
I think the nightmare bracket for Mango would be like, assuming he makes it out in winners, which I cannot conceive of him making it out like leaving pools and losers. But assuming
Right.
he makes it out in winners, like maybe just dropping a set or something. If he plays like, excuse me, like what Amsa for in winners quarters and loses, and then drops down, but Leffen gets upset in winners also, and they have to play each other for ninth, and Leffen beats him, and Mango plays awful. Like that would be I think the closest thing to a Mango floor for this event.
And then for Zayn, there's obviously a little bit of a break between not having to worry about Plup, and it's not really fair to Free Palestine to say to not have to worry about Sheik, but other than Free Palestine, there's no other Sheik at this event if I was looking at this correctly.
I mean, it depends on what Leffen goes against him, right?
You're
But
right in
I see
saying
what you
that,
mean.
yeah. But I
I don't
feel
know
like
what Leffen's. I know they did like a bunch of Sheik Marth on three frames, and like Leffen's Sheik looked pretty good, but again, like just it's a completely different environment, like offline. I don't know. I don't really know what his plan is. I assume he's going Sheik, but like again, who knows?
does Leffen experiment at the summit stage in terms of playing Zayn if they meet in bracket or meet? They're not in the same pool, are they?
I don't. I forget, but one of the things I would say is like they've played each other in Marth Sheik. Like Leffen really grinded that matchup for a while. I just don't know if he's still like I don't know if he's still committed to it or if it was just like a temporary thing. I
Right.
assume he's committed to it. Like he was pretty serious and like they played a lot together.
Because I almost want to say that there's like a temptation to say, well, me as Leffen, there's obviously a lot of reasons to want to play well at this event, but there's also the Smash World Tour and Zayn will be there. What if I experiment is the wrong word, but this is the time to find out, is my Sheik up to snuff? I can get a feel for this. And it's not, again, I don't want to call it experimenting because you certainly don't want to waste a tournament just on a character counter
Yeah, but he's
pick.
trying it out, right?
Yeah,
Like
bring it out
he's
for a
seeing,
game. Yeah.
hey, is this worth is like I thought this was worth it long term. I did this online with him. My Sheik is really good at this matchup. Does this carry over into offline? And is this the way forward offline? For sure. Maybe this is his way of checking that out. I think either way, like maybe he does Fox on other stages, but he keeps Sheik for FD. I don't know. We don't know anything about Leffen. That's what I think is so fun. That's what I think is so fun about him coming back. Like, could I really beat like? It'll simultaneously be so surprising if Leffen just like destroyed everyone, like he beat Zayn with Sheik and then he beats like Mango or whoever. Would it be shocking if that happened? I mean, yes and no, right? Like at the time it'd be like, oh wow, like I guess maybe the best player in the world was just in Europe this entire time and everything like all these accomplishments that we thought mattered now have an asterisk on them. Like that could both be the case, but it could also be like Leffen comes. It'll also be shocking because we haven't seen this guy in what like 18 months or what, longer than that.
It's been a while.
Almost
It's
2
been a
years.
minute.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Like, no matter what happens to Leffen at this tournament, there's always going to be people being like, "Oh well, like obviously Leffen was going to win or get top three, or obviously Leffen was going to finish out of top eight. He hasn't played anyone good in America in so long." But like, no one knows. Like, we just know that he's really good. We know he's good enough to beat the rest of Europe. Like, that's it. And Europe's not bad, but just like, I don't know how that translates to a major field, and that's one thing I'm really excited to find out this weekend.
You know what I almost think, you know what I just thought of? Something that Zane and Mango both said, either on their streams or somehow in the context of Summit 11, was talking about how they did not want to see HBox win in terms of like, calling the COVID era illegitimate, right? Because if
Yeah.
Hungrybox wins a big event offline, then you can kind of look at the whole quarantine era and be like, asterisk, because it's not in person, it's not IRL, it's not on the CRT. So I almost wonder if there's the same mentality behind Leffen coming to the United States, and Mango and Zane in particular thinking this guy can't win. And the
God,
reason
I hope
why is
so.
because if
I'll be
Leffen
honest.
wins, then we
He'll
get
be
to
insufferable.
put
Oh
an
my God.
asterisk. We have to put that asterisk on. I think that this is an event where I feel, so I'll put my neck out here. Leffen's not going to win this tournament. It doesn't matter if he comes and
Maybe a
he
tall
plays
order,
and he
right?
plays very, very well, even if he makes grands. I still think he loses because Mango or Zane, one of the two, will make it their business to beat him in bracket.
Yeah, I'll let you in on something. It's not that Leffen will be insufferable if he wins this tournament. I mean, he will, but like I'm not close with Leffen, right? It'll just be like a social media thing. It'll exist in the aether of social media. The real people who will be insufferable are Ambi and Wheat. Those two are huge, huge Leffen
You
fanboys.
talk to
Ambi
them more
might
often
deny.
than you talk to Leffen, so
Yeah, yeah, and Emby I think will deny it a little bit, but like Wheat is a full-on Leffen fanboy. Like he picks Leffen to win events every time he enters them. Like even if they're
yeah.
majors, even if Leffen has lost like 5 straight grand finals in a row, Wheat will begin the prediction sections by being like, yeah, I think Leffen is so good. His matchup spread is so good. I really think Leffen will win this turn. He does this all the time.
Every time
God,
Leffen comes up, we will joke about how he picks Leffen to win tournaments. It doesn't matter. You just
yeah,
talk about him, and he
God,
goes,
he and
I like to pick
Amby.
him to win stuff.
It'll be so annoying if Leffen wins. Oh no. That's it. I hope Leffen gets ninth. Not because of anything against him, just just that's it. I can't let my friends be too happy and gloat about Leffen doing well. All right, come on, IBW. This is your chance.
I would love to see IBDW take this. I remember watching Summit 9, or yeah, it was Summit 9, the one before. Oh, but Summit 9 was the Valentine's one that Hungrybox won. So this was Summit 8 where
Yeah.
IBDW had that great losers run, including beating Hungrybox
Hmm.
and saying, you know what? I don't think I will have to sub goal for food for much longer because of a performance like this. This validates all the hard work and the intensely deep sacrifices that I've had to make to become good at Melee. I mean, IBDW has an amazing story already. Being able to win
Right.
an event like this against a very high-tiered field, beating Zane and Mango and possibly Leffen, however you want to phrase it, would be a very, very big deal for IBDW. And I think it's still a very big deal for Zane to win this because it would mean that he's gotten used to the big moment. I tend to agree with you, by the way, in terms of who wins this event in Zane, because after watching those grand final sets in Summit 11 and seeing Zane play, not up to par of what we're used to, but it's grand finals. So perfect play is very hard to achieve. I think it's very hard to play perfect in grand finals, regardless of the tournament that you're watching. But Zane, I like to think, has learned how to be in that moment. And even if the prize pools is not as huge, even if this is not the first big IRL back anymore, those storylines do not exist for this particular Summit 12. If Zane can somehow run into Tyler Swift in the bracket and crush that Pikachu, even if it's not Axe, if Zane can invalidate Leffen's Sheik and just make Leffen go, well, heck, I guess I have to play Fox now. Great. shoot. And then in Grands, denies the manga reset or whoever goes against him.
Mhm.
I would love to see that because it means to me that I'm right, that I'm right about how I think that Zayn takes a moment like Summit 11 and is able to use his amazing competitor's mentality to make himself better, and then he gets that big win.
So I agree with you, but I do want to add that while it does seem like Zayn has an unfortunate tendency to be on the receiving end of a lot of heartbreak, man has won majors before. He did win Genesis 7 and he won Shine. We shouldn't and while he has won a lot online as well, we shouldn't sleep on the fact that Zayn has stepped up in those big moments before. But I do think there's a grain of truth in what you're saying, that it does kind of feel like he's on the receiving end of a lot of heartbreakers, and, and especially Smash Summit 11. I mean, that has to be one of the biggest heartbreaking ways to lose. Not just the one frame missed up air in the final few seconds or whatever, but also just being so indestructible on FD for so long and losing and getting reverse 3-0'd on that stage. I know is pretty, like, especially if you're part of who you are as a player is you never lose on FD versus Fox. Losing against Mango, who went Fox for the first time against you and beat you first try. I mean, I know that. I'm sure he's still thinking about that a lot. Yeah, it'll be nice to see Zayn do well at this event. He is my pick to win Smash Summit 12, and judging by this conversation, it seems like he's your pick as well.
Yes, absolutely. Willing to put that out there. Zayn's going to win Summit 12. Lock it, put it in place. And I know that Zayn has won majors before. There's a reason why he's ranked number 9 in the all-time top 100 that you were the project director for. But I think that after Genesis 7, it was this moment of the changing of the guard, because Hungrybox had been number 1 for 3 years running at that point, trying to think about, oh, is this year number 4? Is 2020 year number 4? And for Genesis 7, beating Hungrybox in winners finals, I want to say it was, and then beating him again in grands was such a big statement of saying, I can not only get over the heartbreaker losses that I suffered in 2019, I can also do that at the biggest stage possible, because Genesis is that humongous stage. It's such a big tournament. It means so much to a lot of the Melee community. It's massive that he won that. It's so cool to see. But then because of the pandemic, because of the 1.5, 2 years of all of this that we have to go through of saying what could have been for Zayn, there was almost this feeling of a reset when Mango wins Summit 11, and we start to forget a little bit of how amazing of a player Zayn is, even though we see it on a fairly regular basis on his stream and at the SCLs, like the SCL Season 1 and SCL Season 2, where he won the majority of it, winning Summit 10 online, if I recall correctly, that Zayn is going to have his moments in the future. And what better way to kick it off than by getting the first one that's available, and that would be Summit 12.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you put it quite well, and that just about wraps up Summit Talk. I think that's a great place
So
to
so so
close the
Smash World
discussion.
Tour, real quick. Who is your most excited person to watch that's coming from out of region? Mine is Ingen. Who is yours?
I'm really excited about Chape.
Oh, let's
I'm really
go.
thrilled about Chape, not just because I think I think the melee scene in Chile is really underrated, but I know Chape's really wanted an opportunity to play against stronger players and against the North American competition in particular. Chile is very good, but Chape is far and away the best player on the continent, and he's talked a lot about wanting to just get better, like top level practice. I know this means a lot to him. And just as a side note, Chape is my pen pal. He's been helping me learn Spanish over the last four months or so. So I, of course, on an interpersonal level, want him to do really well.
Yeah, let's
That's
go chop
my
it.
pick.
Made it safely to the United States, if I was reading the Twitter correctly.
Hmm.
Already getting that chance at top level competition, even even if a lot of players are going to Summit. So that wraps up everything. there is, of course, so much more Melee to be talked about. So in the future, Edwin, yes, I would love to get you on. There are no fancy jackets for coming on the show 5 times at bottom of the Smash Mountain.
And not like not like the Melee Stats one where you get the fancy jacket. We'll have to get
Right.
you on sometime, Jesse.
Oh, of course. I would love to be on. I would love to have a role in the Melee Stats Discord when I have earned such things. Yes, because you get to have people like Fendrick Lamar. Nope. Is it Fendrick Lamar?
Yeah, Fendi's coming on this week.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure that I'm saying the whole name correctly because I want to say Fendi, but I want to be specific as possible so that people who are listening this deep understand that it's the Fendrick Lamar, one of the best Philly sports fans out there, and also a great Melee person to talk about. Summit is going to be on Waiting for Game tomorrow night. This podcast will be out with enough advance time that if people are listening, you could go check that out on the twitch.tv/Melee Stats. It's just Melee Stats for the Twitch, right?
Yeah, twitch.tv/Melee Stats.
Waiting for Game. But you
can
also
support us at patreon.com/Melee Stats.
That's right. Patreon.com/Melee Stats. A lot of great patrons in the Discord, popping Discord as well that you can be a part of, even if you're not a Patreon supporter, because I'm not, but I like to be on the Discord and interact and talk around and such. It's a great community that you help to foster. And aside from all the other amazing things that you're doing, we're going to have my Touching Grass segment, since nobody wants it to be, except for Wheat, wants it to be the Touching Grass segment. I want to steal, like I did the last time you were on, a Waiting for Games segment for just the last little bit here, where we talk about things that are outside of Melee. The holidays are coming up, so even if this is December 6th and it's not quite the Christmas time, Kwanzaa time, and Hanukkah time and everything, I don't know for sure what all those dates are except for Christmas itself, but happy holidays to everybody listening and watching. I hope you also have a wonderful 2022. Despite everything that would make you believe it might not be a wonderful year, I still always want to have optimism for things to come.
That's so lovely. Okay, what do I do? So you want me to talk about something that's not Melee related, right?
That is correct.
All right. Well, okay, this is gonna be very silly, but so as far as owning a dog goes, I gotta say, yeah, I won't lie. It's usually my spouse taking care of the dog. They were the person that wanted him, so our deal was that they would take care of him. They'd take him on walks, they'd train him and everything like that. But today, I had a bit of free time and I wanted to spend some of it training Arnold, my dog, my wonderful, lovely dog who's asleep in his bed right now. And it gave me a kind of joy and fulfillment that I swear I could have never anticipated. Like 2 years ago, it was just basic stuff, right? Telling him to sit, telling him to stay, telling him to chill. Chill is one of my favorite commands with him. I go like this, and he goes to the floor. It's just, I love my dog so much. I know this is like the most level 0, seemingly pandery response possible. And honestly, when we run Rating for Game tomorrow, and it becomes my turn to talk on the not Melee segment, I'll probably pick something else, honestly, because Wheat is gonna call me a mark or a cornball for talking about this. But my main thought right now is just, God, I love my dog so much, and listen to your spouse. That's all I'm gonna say.
I love that. So you can find all the links to the stuff that we were talking about for all things Melee Stats in the description below. Other than that, Edwin Budding, thank you so much for joining me on Bottom of Smash Mountain.
Thank you so much, Jesse. It was a pleasure talking to you.